Panning across. 1, 2, 3.
Hey!
Wait, just a second.
Take 1. Go ahead.
So my experience at Barnabas was really, really incredible. I saw God in a lot of ways. I was introduced to people that were a lot older than me. Like camper-wise, there would be campers that were like 20, and so it was kind of intimidating at first, but I realized that age doesn't matter at all, and that I became really, really great friends with all of the campers. It was really cool to be in a boys' cabin, actually, because I became really close with Virginia and Lydia, who were the girls in my cabin, and I also became close with the boys, and so we all became really good friends, and we bonded in the week. We also really bonded with the campers. It was a great experience to be able to see how God was working in all of the campers' lives and to get to share the gospel with them, so I thought that was really cool.
This is my second year going to Barnabas, and I was really excited because last year I made such a great relationship with my camper, and I just got to help her have the best week of her life, and it was just a life-changing experience. This year I was paired with a boy named Christian, and we had a lot of fun this week. He loves Mario Kart and Toy Story and the Avengers, so I spent a full week just asking questions about who would win in a fight between Spider-Man and Captain America, which in my opinion it's always Spider-Man.
So I had a camper whose name was Taylor. She was 21. She was very sweet. She smiled through everything, even when her legs were hurting and she had trouble walking at one point of the trip. She got excited for everything that we did. She thought that every day was the best day ever. She loved basically anything that we did, even if it wasn't her favorite. And no matter what the circumstance was, she always loved to make it positive and fun.
This is my second year at Barnabas as a missionary. I was a missionary for a boy named Trey last year, and he was nonverbal. He didn't like leaving the cabin, so basically spent all our time in there. So it was a lot different experience than I thought it would be. This year I had a camper, his name's Colin, and he was 25, and he had Down syndrome and autism, and he had a huge personality. He loved speaking into the microphone and just being as loud as he can whenever he could, and it was a lot different experience than my first year, and I enjoyed it a lot. We had a lot of fun, and I can't wait to go back next year.
My camper really loved wolves and My Little Pony. His favorite, what was the character? Twilight? That's one of their names. He really liked Twilight, and so he would start singing the songs out of the blue, and it was so funny. And he always wore 3 wolf t-shirts every day. One day he would wear one wolf t-shirt, and the other day he would wear another one, and then he always carried around a wolf mask, and so it was so
I
so
saw
funny.
that was the best.
So this week we learned about the armor of God, and one morning we were going over the shield of faith. And so we were going around asking campers, what does God protect you from with the shield of faith? And one of our campers, Nick, he told us that God protected him from the Nazis, and we asked him to elaborate on that. And he went on and on about how when he was in World War II, God just protected him from the Nazis. And that was basically our week. Yeah.
I had a lot of fun and just hanging out in the cabin with all the other campers too. Jake's camper, Mitchell, was really funny. He loved wrestling and playing and just doing everything he can to just hurt us or mess with us. And got to one point where he found a roll of duct tape in the cabin, and he ended up duct taping our face and our wrists together so that we were just left on the ground to their mercy, just beating us. But it was a great time, and I'm sure he had a lot of fun.
Whenever I go to camp, I just experience this great joy that Jesus is just with us the entire week, and we get to spend the week just expressing his joy to our campers. But I often found that my camper was feeding off of the joy I had or didn't have at some points. So I just learned that I need to become more expressive and just have joy even when it's harder to have joy, because that's not only going to affect the way that I perceive the week, but it's going to help my camper just have the best week of his life.
So what I learned about myself on the trip, Barnabas, is that I tend to think of myself as not good enough for most things. Like, for example, I was going to be a barnstormer, and because every time I thought, like, could I be a counselor? I'm like, no, I'm not good enough. I can't do that. I'm not able to do that. But once I got the chance, and it was like the first day, I'm like, I love this. This is the best. I don't know why I thought I couldn't, but I easily can.
Camp Barnabas taught me how to be very selfless and less focused on myself, because you're spending a whole week with one kid, and he loves attention and he wants you to be there all the time, and it just forces you to stop focusing on your own needs, which is what you usually do, and just pour out everything on him and just focus on him. And I think that's a very good skill to learn in life, because God calls us to serve others and care for the needs of others instead of our own.
I learned that I need to have a lot more patience, because it takes a lot of patience to work with, like, do certain things and, serve different campers. And patience is a huge factor in camp at Barnabas. I also learned that I need to be more selfless instead of selfish, because sometimes, my camper wouldn't want to do certain things, and I'd have to sacrifice what I wanted to do for them. And so I learned that it's not going to be always about me. It's going to be about what my camper wants to do, and in the end, it's really worth it, because you get to see, like, the smile on their face and how happy they were. So
I saw God move in a particular moment at camp. I went with 2 other girl missionaries down to IP, which is just secluded from the rest of camp. And we just sat on the rocks, and we saw the stars and the fireflies in the valley, and we just really felt God moving through us and knitting us together while we prayed and sang worship music, and it was just a very meaningful experience. It was very beautiful.
I saw God in many ways at Barnabas. A lot was just through the joy of the campers and just seeing them get to have a camp experience and just worship God and sing and basically do anything that they want to. Was great to see God work through them.
I saw God show up in my camper Taylor, because halfway through the week her knees stopped working for like 30 minutes, and so she had fallen a few times, and even though she was in like extreme pain, she just had a giant smile on her face and like, I'll be better, I'll be fine, I'll still have fun. And it just showed me that I'm very privileged and that I can be negative, and that I should be more like Taylor, because with all of her problems she has, she still is so happy about everything she gets. Jesus loves me, gave me my sight, took my heart,
I
brought
don't
it
know
into the light. Oh,
I'm Camp Barnabas bound. Oh, I'm Camp Barnabas